Just popping on a Sunday morning, getting ready for church. Again, it's like the only me time I have these days between running for mayor, working as a news producer, and being a mom. A couple things I want to say. I went to the funeral last night of our friend Anne. And it was so hard. I haven't been to a funeral since my grandpa died a couple of years ago. But he was really old. He was in his 90s. You know, kind of just that phase where you expected, and you've kind of spent the last few years settling up with yourself, you know, knowing that your loved one is going to die and taking those tender moments. And, you know, and it was still sad, and I was really broken, but at the same time, you know, it was like, it was time. Anne, however, was an extremely vibrant, very vibrant 74, which the older I get, 74 does not sound very old. At 43, 74 when I was in my 20s was like, God, why haven't you died yet? Now I'm like, Anne has so much life in her. And she was very beautiful in her coffin last night. They made her look just like herself. You know how some bodies just, they look horrible or bloated or shrunken or orange or, you know, whatever. And what made it so hard was that Anne looked like herself. Her family had dressed her very classy. She had her jewelry on. Her hair was done just like she would do it. And it was just hurtful, painful, bittersweet. Like, we laughed, we cried, we danced. We danced because Anne loved dancing. So at the end, we all danced to Dancing Queen by ABBA because she loved ABBA. Which actually, how funny, I knew every word to that song because I actually love that song myself. My mom came over beforehand. My mom came over beforehand, and she got a new wig. She has a couple wigs. She has like a really cheapy, just crappy wig that, you know, she can throw on her head and she doesn't care how she looks. Then she bought like a handkerchief with just hair hanging. No, like, it's not a wig. It's actually more like a hat. It's got hair hanging. It actually looked really nice on her. Although it was weird to see her in like a do-rag because I've never seen her wear something like that in my life. It's just not her way. And then she came over last night and she had bought another synthetic wig, but it was like a $250 wig, and it definitely looked much better. So I helped her arrange the hair a little bit to look like herself. Her hair is normally long. This was a lot shorter. And it was kind of flipped out like right here at the shoulder, which is not how she would wear her hair, but the front really looked like her. And so it was almost like you just get away. It just looks like she got a haircut. Actually, it looked really nice. I could tell she was self-conscious. She kept checking in the mirror over and over and over again. And we just went back and forth. Here, try this, pin it over here, you know, whatever. And she left and she's like, I guess that's the best I can do. And I was like, Mom, you look like yourself. You do. I said, you look like you got a fresh haircut. And I was not being fake. She really did look like she had just got a fresh haircut. It was a nice synthetic wig. And so at the church, she was, you know, had to keep a social distance because her blood cell count is up. Praise the Lord. But she still needs to stay away from people because she just had her chemo on Friday. And she kept saying to people, like people that she knew, like, hi, you like my fake hair? And finally I was like, Mom, please stop saying that. You know, and whatever, she was self-conscious. I know that because she keeps checking in the mirror in a way I've just never seen her do before. She doesn't feel like herself, and she can feel the wig on her head. So that's not my reality. But anyway, so I said, Mom, please stop saying that. I said, the people that know you have cancer know you don't have any hair left. Okay. We all know it's a wig. And I said, it's a great looking wig. And if people compliment you on the wig, please just be gracious. People are not being fake with you. Your friends are not fake. It really does look good. And she was like, okay. And I caught her a couple more times. I was like, Mom, stop. Please stop. I said, you're showing you're self-conscious about it. And I said, let people compliment you. You look very nice. whatever. I don't know if it worked. I wasn't around her the entire night, but right before the service began, actually, so when she was at my house beforehand, she had written a statement about Anne. Anne was one of her closest just girlfriends. And she'd written a statement and she was reading it to me. She said, "Oh, what do you think about this little statement?" And just about Anne and how Anne would want the world to know about Christ because Anne told everybody about Jesus Christ. And she couldn't get through it without crying. And I was like, "Do you think," I said, "are you going to make it through this?" I said, "Mom, maybe you should." And I was just worried because she just had her chemo. She looked weak. She looked tired. But I know she wanted to do this for Anne. I know she did. My mom did read her little statement for Anne from the stage when she was playing the piano last night. And she did it without crying. I was praying for her the whole time. I was like, "Oh Lord, I know she doesn't want to cry at that moment." But, later on, before she took the stage, she stood in front of Anne's coffin. We were like chatting with a crowd and we kind of walked away and we walked up to the coffin and it was an open casket. And, we just stood there in front of Anne's body and we just held each other and cried for our beloved Anne. And it was tragic. She died quickly, very quickly. She just one day didn't feel good and she died. And my mom and I just clung to each other, which is actually something we don't really do. And we wept for Anne's family and her husband and, her children and for ourselves. But in my heart, I was weeping for my mom because Anne's gone. She's with the Lord. She's not looking back. But my mom is here, not only seeing, the body of her dear friend, her sister type friend, but my mom is really sick. And because she was standing in faith for Anne with just such true belief and passion, I just prayed for my mom while we stood there. I just held her and prayed in my heart because I know the enemy has tormented me with the idea that you can stand in faith all day and your mother's gonna die just like Anne, cut down before her prime, because I win the battle on earth. Yeah, her soul will be in heaven, but you're gonna suffer, left behind, while your mother goes on to be with the Lord and never thinks about you again. I just prayed. I was like, if that's what it's gonna be, then so be it. I don't want it. And I have to just constantly fight fear, but also struggle against not compartmentalizing myself because I am very good at doing that. Just shutting down and going into my little closet in my mind where no one can get to me and I can't get to myself. All day, I had to fight those thoughts. Anne died and you stood in faith for her. And you really believed, because everybody was like, if anyone's going to pull through, it's Anne. She's this crazy, scrappy fighter. Nobody thought Anne would die. But she did. And it was, even that in and of itself was shocking. Because she's beaten cancer before, and she has this crazy life. She's overcome every obstacle. And my mom, watching all this unfold, you're going to die. Even as our mouths speak, I will live and not die and tell the works of the Lord. And that confrontation between faith and fear is so palatable. And it's moment by moment, actually. You have to recognize those thoughts the minute they come. I think sometimes those thoughts come and we find ourselves falling down the rabbit hole, and all of a sudden we're like, wait, no. And I'm working really hard at not allowing the enemy to catch me like that and drag me into the weeds, and then I gotta drag myself back out. And as I held my mom last night and we cried, it just I just cried out to the Lord for her in my heart. You don't know the outcome. And I have to tell myself that constantly. Alicia, you don't know the outcome. Stop trying to play God. And stop letting the enemy set himself up as God in your mind. He doesn't know the future. Only the Holy Spirit does. And best, at best, he can hedge his bets and play the law of averages. That's it. The average is that average says my mother will die. But the average said that Anne wouldn't die, and she did. The Holy Spirit knows. Satan does not. He's such a liar. It'll make us think that he knows, and we just live in fear, and I cannot allow that. I won't function. My mom looked really pretty in her wig, and I took a picture of her. I said, "Mom, you look so pretty. Let me see your pretty, I said, can I take a picture of you?" And I thought she looked so beautiful. You look so pretty. That hair, the front of it looks like her. It looks like how she wears her hair. This whole thing is just hard. It never gets easier. It's an endless battle for my thoughts. Plus the actual battle of, standing on the word, comforting my mom, being there for her, addressing what I have going on inside of myself, just mentally and emotionally. It just doesn't end. It doesn't ever end. I feel like I don't ever get peace from it. Like little moments of peace, but not that settled peace of going forward and just that everything's gonna be okay like it used to be. I feel like those days are over. I feel like for the rest of my life I'm going to be afraid or fighting fear that at any moment we'll find out, she has cancer again, and then you just sit for the rest of your life on pins and needles, or they die. My mom cried all day yesterday for Anne, because that's what my mom would do. She would cry for everybody but herself. And what's so funny is last week on my little videos, I said that my mom looked like Gollum, and she does. And then last night, before the funeral, when I was helping my mom arrange her wig hair, I've never said that to anybody. I didn't say it even to my husband. I didn't tell anybody that she looked like Gollum. And then last night, she said to me, "Do you think I should take a picture of my hair, the hair that I have left?" The wig place wanted her to shape it. They said, "Look, you're going to be fighting with this hair that you have left. You're going to constantly have to twist it up and do something with it." And my mom said, "Alicia," I said, "Mom, let me just shave it off for you." I said, "Well, just trim it. Like, let me even just trim it so that you don't have these long, snaggly pieces to fight with." And she just said, "I can't do it, Alicia. I just can't let it go. I can't let it go. I'm not ready." Even though it's all gone, pretty much. And she said, "You know what, the wig place," she said, "they told me when I said I wasn't ready." She said they just told me they're people that deal with cancer all the time. And they said to her, "Then don't do it." They said, "Cancer is a journey. Don't let anybody push you before you're ready to do anything. And so she didn't cut it. So she said to me last night, do you think I should take a picture of my head? And I said, I think you should. Plus, I'm saving all those pictures anyway, just for the day, when we need them. And I said, Mom, you should do whatever you're ready to do. You want to cut it? And I said, I'm happy to cut it for you anyway, so she didn't want to. Take a picture of it. And so last night we didn't get a chance to take a picture of it. And she said to me, she was looking in my mirror, and she said, Alicia, underneath this wig, I think I look like Gollum. She said actually what she said was, she didn't say that at first, she said, I look like a character from The Lord of the Rings. I said, no, those were hobbits. They all had curly hair. It was like, she didn't even laugh, right? I was trying to make a joke. She didn't even laugh. She's like, no, Alicia, I meant the ones that live under the earth. The bad guys. And I was like, the orcs? She said, no, I look like Gollum. My heart broke. It's like, of course I didn't say anything to her. I didn't say a word. I was like, no, Mom. What am I going to say? She does look like Gollum. So she just was quiet, and I was like, and I just said, I was like, well, you have this wig, so if you want to ever look like Gollum. And then we were kind of making some jokes, and she's like, you know what I want to do? She's like, I want to find, she goes, like, the next nasty person. Not the way, my mom and I are always, like, speculating about, like, the nasty person and what we'll do. So we do actually know nasty people, but, she's like, you know what I would do? She's like, I want to find some nasty people. These are the conversations that we have. And she's like, I want to be like, what did you say to me? And she's like, and then I'm going to rip my wig off and be like, what did you say to me? She's like, I'm going to scare the crap out of somebody. She's like, somebody wants to give me a hard time. I'm going to rip my wig off. She goes, and they're going to run away screaming. And she goes, and I'm going to terrify them, right? And I was like, anyway, we were laughing our heads off. I was like, I would love to see you meet somebody like a robber in a dark alley and be like, say what? Rip. And be like, ah! So like, to us, that's funny. She said that she said to somebody the other day, she like pulled the cancer card on somebody. She said, oh, well, I'm sorry I was late, but I have cancer and I'm sick a lot. So when you have cancer, it constantly slows you down. She's like, I had a lot to do for my cancer stuff. And the person was like, oh, yeah, oh, what do you say to that? Just mutter and back away slowly. She said she wants to take her wig and put it on the, she has this clampy wig stand that goes on the side of the table where the wig can set so that it doesn't get mussed. Like, you can't lay it down. You have to, set it on a wig stand so the hair stays nice. She's like, I want to take the head, just a foam head. She's like, I want to take that head. And she's like, I want to put it in, a really weird place in the house so that when Dad comes down in the middle of the night, he thinks it's a person. She's like, I want to hear him scream. And I was like, so that was funny. We were laughing. But of course, I have a psychotic, vicious sense of humor when I really get going. So I was like, you know what you should do? Take the wig head, put it on the stand. And I was like, and then I want you to put crazy black eye makeup on it and smear lipstick on its face. So it looks like a murderer. Anyway, we had a good laugh. And I told her the other day, I said, I played the cancer card too. I said I was late to go somewhere, and somebody said to me, it's 12:08 and you were supposed to be here at 12. And I said, oh, really? I'm so sorry I was late. I said, I was actually with my mother giving her some hats I found in the house and trying them on her because she has cancer and all her hair fell out and she's trying to hide it. Right? So I said that to the person. The person was like, okay, well, I'll never win that argument. So, get going, I was at the gym. They were like, fine, get into the class. I told my mom that, and she didn't laugh at all. And I was like, wow, Alicia, what a freaking jerk you are to make a joke, pull your mom's cancer card, and then go turn around and tell your mother about it. I could have slapped myself in the face. I've been known to slap myself actually in the face behind closed doors when I'm alone. I have punched myself in the face before because I say stupid things like that. And it wasn't funny. My mom didn't laugh when I told her. She like told me her cancer card story, and I was like, oh yeah, I planted a cancer card too, and this is what I said. And she was like, oh. I was like, oh, this is really awkward. So there's me. This is why I hide in a closet. Anyway, on that note, my mom has cancer. Oh, she does. We're on the journey. Jesus has the answer. I was waiting for it to come.